Hi everyone in English 1301, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 4 instructional video. So as I usually do, I'm just going to walk through D2L and show you where to go, what to do, identify all the things that are due this week, but there will be a few added pieces of information along the way that I hope will be beneficial to you. So without further ado, let's just jump right to it. All right, just a note here to remind you to make sure that every time you log into our class in D2L, you're taking a look at the announcements just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Sometimes I will post reminders or updates or information like this time about the book. So just be sure that you're keeping that in mind, especially those of you if you are typically using the Pulse app on your phone or device. It's not super functional. You'll want to log in actually online and it will take you straight to the announcements right off the bat, whereas the app does not necessarily do that. All right, I'm going to go to the content area, and the first place I want to stop is actually in the Start Here section. So remember that if you click on that, there's just the general information about the course, but there also is an area about course frequently asked questions. And I thought this might be helpful to just kind of remind you about, because you're getting to a point in the class where, hopefully you're not feeling overwhelmed, but if you are, I have just reminders here, just information that should prove helpful. Okay, so when does Dr. E work? How long will I have to wait? Are there any due dates for this course? Some general questions. And as you continue to ask those in the Q&A discussion post area, if there are just kind of general course ones, I'll work to add those here as well so that they're all in one place. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, so going back to the table of contents, another place I want to stop is also this right here, the syllabus, schedule, and rubrics. If you click on that, you have the syllabus and then the schedule, and then we're getting into some of the different assignment guidelines. So there is the written response materials. I just added those even though we don't have one that's due. We had one that was due last week, but I wanted it to be very general and for us to kind of ease into the writing. But those are the more formal guidelines, which I will ask you to watch at a later date, but they are available for any of those or any of you that want to get kind of a jump or just to see what those assignments will be like. And then we have the mind map materials. So we have the guidelines, the instructional video that you will be asked to watch this week, and then the template. So all of the assignment work will be available here so that you don't have to go, well, was the mind map guideline, were those guidelines in week 4 or was it week 3? You don't have to click through all the different weeks. You can go to one central location and find all the materials for the course that you might need. All right, so if we go to week 4, hopefully this feels like a pretty straightforward week because, we have a chapter to read, which is nothing new. And again, the pages are available for those of you with the actual print version. So you're watching the instructional video, you're watching the supplemental videos, I'll change that. You do have a mind map that's due on Thursday and then a participation quiz on Sunday. So typically the way I structure a course is that we have the Thursday and Sunday due dates, and typically we have a Thursday discussion, but I thought, okay, we started Pack Back, right? We're getting used to that, which I hope you enjoyed. I really loved going in and seeing just the level of your questions and the detail that you were offering in your descriptions. I responded to some of you. I may have sent feedback to some of you if I noticed things that, I thought might be helpful for future writing. So that's been, really helpful to have that kind of space versus our D2L discussion board, which just isn't as great as maybe it could be. So I hope that you appreciated Pack Back more than D2L. So we're not going to do a discussion post this week just for, that reason. We're just we're just dipping our toes into the Pack Back method and approach. So instead we'll have the mind map on Thursday and then the quiz on Sunday. So you're watching what will appear as number 1 here, and then make sure that you take some time to watch the mind map video. We had, a mind map due in the first week, but it was very general, and so now we're getting into kind of a more organized assignment with set guidelines. So just make sure you watch that video. There are quiz questions. There are quiz questions everywhere, right? So just make sure you're taking some time to look through that. So in the review area, we have the mind map guidelines. So if you click on that, it'll just take you to the document that you can review. Again, I go over this in the video, but you have it here if you need it, as well as the templates, right? So templates are available here as well as in this section, right? All right, so to do, we have the mind map. So I'm going to click this and take us to the assignments area just to walk through what you'll need to do this week. So after reading the assigned chapter, okay, and it is all about annotating, summarizing, and responding, you're going to create a mind map, right? So, and I put here, due to the level of specificity I'm asking you for, you'll want to create a digital map rather than a handwritten one. And I put links here for Canva if you want to give that a try, or mind map if you want to give that a try. But then you also have the templates down here. So from the middle point, which is generally the chapter topic, so that central circle, that main idea is just going to be annotating, summarizing, and responding, because the chapter title pretty much sums up what the main idea is going to be, okay? You're going to select 4 main ideas from the reading that you think are really important, right? So there are a lot, so pick 4. Place 1 in each bubble that's radiating out from the center, along with an explanation of why this is important in relation to the chapter as a whole, okay? So you'll have 4 bubbles with the main idea and explanation, and then from each of those bubbles, you're going to then select a quote from the reading that helps support your ideas, right? So if you talk about, say, annotating, and you explain that it's important because of these things, this is the important point from the chapter, out of that bubble, you'll have a quote from that section that really helps support your ideas, okay? I'm actually going to pause for a second and pull up the guidelines just to show you what essentially you're going for in this week's mind map. Okay, so this is the guidelines, and I'm going to scroll down, try not to make you nauseous. And this is essentially what you're going for. You have one idea in the center. From that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas. And from each of those main ideas, you have a quote that's going to come. Okay, so I just say that this is an example because it's set up with 4 bubbles radiating out from the center with information, and from each of those, you'll then have a quote. Okay, so just to give you a little idea. And going back to the instructions, I put a hint here. So look at the title of a chapter to help you kind of think about where to start. So if chapter titles are not chosen just randomly, right? People who are writing textbooks or books in general have very specific titles for chapters or for articles. Anything that's written has a title, right? So help that, make that work for you, right? If they are identifying some of these main ideas, then maybe your bubbles should also reflect those, right? So don't do more work than you have to do. Use some of these tools at your disposal in terms of reading strategies. And one of them is looking at the title. Another is going through and looking at all the subtopics. What is bolded on the page, right? What are the different sections titled? That should help you pull out those main ideas, okay? So just keep those things in mind as you're doing this work. That will help you feel less overwhelmed if you, in fact, start this assignment feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the chapter. I want you to also think about, as you're reading, the fact that so much college work ends up being something along the lines of annotating, summarizing, and responding. Because what we want you to do in a lot of college writing is to show what you know. Like, what did you learn? What do you know? How are you putting these ideas together? So I want you to go into the reading of this week's work with that in mind, the fact that it is valuable. I mean, I'm always going to assign chapters and readings that I think are very valuable, but we're starting off with, I think, a really strong kind of foundation in our reading from our textbook. So make sure that you're kind of, sometimes you may have to stop and remind yourself that this is going to be useful. Okay, so, and make sure also, as I'm talking about this, make sure you're also thinking about strategies that will help you be successful in your reading. You're engaging. You're not just kind of, if you're like me, there will be times when I'm just flipping pages and I couldn't tell you what were on the last 20 pages, right? Because I'm not actively engaging, right? So sometimes that means I have to change where I'm sitting because I'm getting too distracted. Sometimes it means that instead of listening to Hamilton, the soundtrack to Hamilton, which, why don't we make that one of the random questions? One character from Hamilton that I am obsessed with is this guy right here. So how about Lafayette? Lafayette is going to be our random question. So anyhow, if I'm listening to something like that, maybe I have to listen to like rain or, white noise, something that helps me focus. Or I need to be in a less comfortable chair because if I'm too comfortable, I start to get drowsy. Find whatever is going to work for you. And what works with your biology reading may not work for your composition reading, right? So just make sure that you're kind of taking a step back and just seeing what's the best for you. All right, if we go back to week 4, the other thing we have is the quiz. And so the quiz is going to ask questions from the videos for this week, but also the reading. So again, another reason to actively engage in your reading as we go. A few things I want to point out before I let you go. One of them is that when you're sending me an email, it is really helpful to include your course number. So if you're in English 1301, that's all you need to let me know. I don't necessarily need your specific section because all of us are kind of combined into this one section, at least in D2L. But I really need some help in organizing those inquiries that you have, so that really does help. When you're uploading a document that is due in D2L, it has to be in Word format or in PDF, period, right? There are times JPEGs are okay. Ultimately, what I'm saying is if you have a Mac, you cannot submit work in Pages because I cannot open it and I can't grade what I can't open, right? So make sure that you're attending to that. And this is another reminder to download your free version of Microsoft Office Suite. There is a link in the D2L Tech and Help module that takes you to the Office of Technology Services website where you can download the whole Microsoft Office Suite for Mac or for your computer. It's free to you as a student, okay? Another reminder that I want you to know about is that, give me one second. Okay, I had to stop and what was this note about? So your due date for the mind map this week is on Thursday, but I know that, some of you, if you had a little bit more time, that would be nice. So what I've done is I've made the initial due date Thursday, but you will actually have until Monday the following week. I tried to make it in between, if we have a Sunday deadline, you have a 48-hour grace period until Tuesday, but it doesn't matter. My reasoning is there. I'm just saying that if you need to take Friday, Saturday, even Sunday to complete the work because you're taking time to read the chapter. I know some of you have very busy work weeks, and this is not always going to be something that I offer, but you do actually have until Monday of the following week to submit that work. So I don't want you to get thrown by the due dates that you see. Yes, it's due on Thursday, but you have a little bit of wiggle room just because we have a lighter week and you don't have something other than the quiz due on Sunday. Hopefully this is not confusing you. If you have questions, just submit it on Thursday, right? All right, so that's it for this week. I hope everybody is doing well, and we are into week 4. I hope you feel pretty confident, right? You're rocking and rolling, so have a great week.